Hello, my darlings. I can't believe it. I looked outside my window today and all around me it just feels like spring is bursting out. And I just wanted to say a very, very, very big thank you to all of you. I'm gonna hold up a little t-shirt. I was gonna wear it on a different video, but I'm too excited. I'm gonna show you now. Thank you very, 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 very much to all of you who donated to my fundraiser for Young Minds Charity, which is a wonderful charity that do so much good for our young people and their mental health, and can actually very, very often be a lifeline. You know, I know of a few lives who could very well have been saved last year, young lives, beautiful, beautiful lives who I knew personally that could have been saved last year had they spoken out, had they known. And so it was a charity really dear to my heart. And my birthday isn't for another 3 weeks, not till March the 21st. But I did this big fundraiser on Facebook for Young Minds Charity, and I made the goal and absolutely what I thought was an impossible, miraculous £1,000, and we've passed it. So I'm not going to plug that one anymore because, you know, it's hard times for everybody. But if any of you do have the ability to dig deep or even just spread awareness, I would be really, really grateful. And you can find the fundraiser under Juliana Wheater on my public Facebook for my birthday fundraiser. If any of you have a few spare pennies, every pound, every 50p counts. Now, I just want to apologise to you before I begin. I'm not going to waffle on for ages today, but one of my children is very, very ill and in and out of hospital, and I thought, I'm going to go nuts. You know, when you just get sick of the same car park, and especially if you have to sleep in one, it's not the best. I had to actually give a workshop from one. That was interesting. Anyway, I know they're going to get better because they will. I'm determined. I'm one determined lady. But they are really unwell, and so please, please forgive me if I'm not my normal bubbly self. But I know it's the return to school, certainly in the UK, after quite a long period of another lockdown. And I just thought, if I just wallow and worry and, you know, don't do this for all those young people out there because of, you know, my child who isn't very well, then all of these other, I hope I reach hundreds, I hope I reach thousands through this medium. You know, they're going to miss out because I couldn't get it together. So please excuse me, I'm a little bit wobbly today, but I'm going to do this. We're going to do this together. So it's massage for going back to school. And there was another reason behind doing this, not just for all you gorgeous kids out there with all different abilities. This is, by the way, not just special needs or disabilities or different abilities. It's for all kids because, as we all know, there's a huge focus on mental health for our young people at the moment. So this is really something, and I trained some teachers recently, and I've also been asked about it by teachers and other professionals on my public Facebook group, Online Rainbow Therapies for Kids and Families on Facebook. You know, what would be a good idea in this day where, you know, everybody's become touch phobic, and actually touch massively boosts immunity. It grows our brains. You know, we can develop empathy, reading and processing faces. It accesses all the higher emotionally intelligent skills, social intelligence, and we've got different parts for this all over our heads. So, you know, it's not well-being, it is neuroscience. And what I've been saying to people is, wouldn't it be fantastic if for 5 minutes after morning registration and 5 minutes after afternoon registration, the kids could all do this in an inclusive way. So you're not saying, oh, you with autism, you who's really struggling to get back to school, you who's got mental health, you who's got anxiety, ADHD, we're going to just you lot do it. It's for the whole class because we all benefit. And it's not even just for going back to school, it can be for going back to work. It could be for just riding that wave of mental health that I'm always talking about. So I'm going to get right on with it this morning because I've got to get going because I've got a load of calls today to do with one of my children and possibly going back to hospital again today. So I really want to share the best I can with you today, and I really hope I give as good as I normally give because I'm in feisty mode. I'm in fighting mode. March is the yellow month. There's daffodils everywhere and yellow is my favourite colour. Anyway, so the first thing, because obviously we're not allowed to touch each other, and for those of you who are therapists and are still, you've got to deliver by Zoom sessions, certainly until April 15th at the earliest, you can also deliver this over Zoom, and I'm really happy for you just to take this and share it in your own sessions. You know, this is what this is all about. We're a global community, as I keep on saying. So the first thing is with the pads of the fingers to just I always close my eyes, I've been doing a lot of this in my car, in the car park, hospital car park. Very, very slowly, gently but firmly, rotate the pads of your fingers on your temples. And the reason this is so fantastic is because the temples are the capital city of all the main happy hormones and coping chemicals. It's your daily dose, which I've spoken about in a previous video. So it's dopamine, the hormone of motivation, focus, attention, that drive, feelings of reward, concentration. Kids with ADHD often have a natural deficit in it anyway, which is why, you know, this is the way their brains are wired. It's not that they're being willful or naughty. Then you've got serotonin, the hormone of happiness, confidence, self-esteem. Huge for that return back to school. You've also got oxytocin, the hormone of love and nurture, that stimulates all that emotional intelligence, compassion, generosity, empathy, putting yourself in other people's shoes, self-awareness, interpersonal awareness, all of these very, very important skills that later on, hopefully, you take into adult life and the workplace. The greatest leaders have this. The greatest leaders have this. Honestly, they do. And then there's endorphins. So that whoosh of well-being, that feeling like, oh, guess what? I've just had 10 bars of chocolate and I haven't got one dimple on my thighs. That feeling. It's also really, really, really good for pain relief. So it's that whoosh of well-being. I can cope and function with anything. Really, really important if you have aching joints because you've got anxiety, you know, you've got a fibromyalgia, you've got ME, all of these things, you know, you get achy muscles, achy joints. So endorphins is what you need. And 3 of them, endorphins, oxytocin and serotonin, are made and stored in the pituitary, which we access through the temples in massage. And dopamine is made deep in the hypothalamus and travels up the sides of the head and is stored in the pituitary, the temples. The other one you can do is, if you imagine you've got a third eye above these other 2 eyes, and I do apologise if I've not plucked my eyebrows properly, you know why. It's kind of been the last thing on my mind recently, so I hope I don't look like Mrs. Unibrow or some sort of Neanderthal. Anyway, pads of your fingers, and you're gently but firmly massaging there. This is where you access the pineal and here in massage. And this stimulates something called melatonin. And melatonin is actually made from serotonin, but you can stimulate it here, through here and here in the pineal, because melatonin regulates sleep, mood, and aggression. So how fantastic is that? So if somebody hasn't had a very good sleep, that will help them sleep later on tonight. It will also help those anger levels and aggression levels really even out, really calm down before the start of a lesson. It will impact massively on the learning environment. This is a collective benefit for the classroom, not just for each child. If you're in hospital, you could do this. If you're an adult in hospital, you can do this. I've been sitting there doing this with, well, the child of mine that isn't very well. I think I'm driving them mad. Well, madder than normal. You know, so this is and it's also really, really good for the teachers. In 2016, and this is a government statistic, in 2016, 120 years of teaching days were lost. 120 years in 1 year through stress. So if you could do these little exercises 5 minutes after morning registration, 5 minutes after afternoon registration, the children do it for themselves. So it's self-regulation, self-management. They're not touching anybody else. It's not breaking any rules. It's boosting immunity. It's getting those stress levels down. And you can actually, with this melatonin point 1, you can then carry on up through the centre of the head sort of 2 fingers widths apart, and you can go down to just before your crown. Never massage the crown. If somebody's under long-term mental health issues, you could tip them into psychosis. In traditional Chinese medicine, the crown is the meeting of 100 pathways, so it's not a good idea to do anything too stimulating there, and I never do. Even if somebody comes to me and says they've got absolutely no mental health issues, you never know. As I said to the people I was speaking with on Saturday, really as human beings, we're kind of like skins with stories inside us, and some of us don't tell our stories. They're deep inside us. So I treasure everybody who comes to me, and I honour them, I really do, and they trust me, and so I would never do anything stimulating on the crown, just to be on the safe side. The other thing you can do is get the kids to massage from temple to temple. As you know, the temples, happy hormones, I need some sleep, capital city of happy hormones and coping chemicals. So if the kids just massage across their foreheads, and as I've said to you before, if you imagine your forehead is like the cockpit of a plane, it's where all your higher brain functions are. So attention, focus, I'm going over that melatonin point as well, concentration, attention, focus, good judgment, seeing consequences, self-awareness, interpersonal awareness, mental flexibility, so i.e. coping with sudden change, really good one for the minute, being able to plan, to sequence, you know, and to actually see consequences. I apologise if I said that already. Like I said, I've seen a bit too much of hospital car parks recently, so just bear with me. And then, so that could be what everybody could do after morning and afternoon registration. If you've got kids who really don't want to touch their faces or their heads, I'm not being funny, a lot of teenagers in particular have got their hair in a certain way, you know, girls might have makeup on, I understand that, I really do. Don't forget you can work on the hands, and just by gently squeezing and pulling, and do it all the way up, this one helps with sleep actually. If you go up the thumb, that's another way to help with sleep, but the thumb is stress and tension. Really important at the moment, and the kids can do this at any time throughout the school day, or if you're not a child and you're at home or you're at work, you can do this. First finger, index finger, as I've said in the video before when I did a hand massage video, it's all about the back. So if you've got an achy back, get onto that finger, and that is fear. What we're not digesting, and I don't mean food, it's more like trauma, things we're really finding difficult to process at the moment. It might be this change. Middle finger, which I always say is like a bit of a sweary finger, even though I don't personally use it. This is all about, if you think about why you swear, it's anger and frustration usually, isn't it? People seem to love this one when they're in cars, or maybe that's just my parking, probably. So, do you know, I've even got stopped by a traffic warden once for my parking, and he said, "You do know I could give you a ticket, don't you, for your parking?" Oh my God, that was just before the last lockdown. How embarrassing. The fourth finger, I do tell you far too much on these videos. Relationships. So if you're worrying about, am I still going to be such good friends with people after lockdown? How do I adjust to seeing them for real after only seeing them online for so long? You know, this is all about relationships. Okay, so it's a really, really easy one to remember. And the little finger is about self-esteem. It's about not feeling good enough. Give it a good little stretch. So you could even do that. So give the kids the choice, because if you put the kids in charge of the touch, it's actually helping them become self-aware of when they get those feelings, where to go when they get those feelings, so self-regulation, and eventually that leads to self-management. And I know we're all having to do touch on ourselves at the moment, or certainly until the 15th, but that in itself is empowering. And I have to say, even when it wasn't lockdown, even before COVID, everything I did, I shared with the children as tools for a toolbox to have at their disposal for any time. So I've got to go now. If you can, if any of you can say some prayers, send some healing intentions, I would be very, very grateful for the child. I've got 4 children, it's the one who's not very well, and I don't really want to say too much on here, but if you could send your healing intentions, I would be very grateful. And I really hope the return to school is smooth, and lots and lots of love to all of you. Take care, darlings. Bye-bye.